Welcome in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us. Tuesday, November 11th, right here on Jocks, 7 a.m. Appreciate you tuning in. No Greg today, but you will see him on the College Football Playoff Rankings show tonight. And as that comes our way, how much change do we anticipate? How much change do we expect? And where are we on just the rankings in general? Are you dialed into this? You want to see this? You excited about it? 800-239-9569. If you want to get in, you can text in 205-834-9450. Is it must-see TV? Does your team have to be ranked in a certain spot as far as the college football playoff rankings go? Also, we'll talk SEC championship game today. Not something that we spend a lot of time talking about anymore. Teams who have an opportunity to get there. Teams that may be on the outside looking in. There are multiple scenarios that are still left, multiple teams that can still make it, but a couple of teams that can win out and control their own destiny. And then we'll talk maybe some college football playoff predictor, teams that are looking like they're going to get in. We'll continue to go back through some of the games from last weekend, begin to take a peek ahead at what's coming. You can tweet into the show at Mac and Cube, always be a part of the show there. But we want to get your feedback. We'll also talk some of these coaching searches, maybe where things stand right now. Who do you want? If you're an Arkansas fan, an Auburn fan, if you're a Florida fan, if you're an LSU fan. Obviously, Lane Kiffin's name is being tossed around for a lot, and now seems to be a new team in the mix for that, and that is the New York Giants, with Brian Daboll being fired. Just heard a lot of people. I'm not saying that it's being reported or that there are legitimate conversations, but there seem to be a lot of people in NFL circles kind of wondering now, would this take place? Could this take place? I honestly don't know there. I'm not sure Lane really thought he'd have another shot at it. But now you get that market with that team, and by the way, that quarterback. Could it be? Would it be? We got a good thing going in college football right now. So I feel like Lane Kiffin probably has a good feel for where the college game is with the college jobs that are open that he's going to have an opportunity at. One thing that may be surprising to many would be this. What would you say if Lane Kiffin's best financial offer outside the Giants, obviously, was going to be in Oxford, Mississippi? It might not be as crazy as you think. Now, we would probably have to throw the no state income tax thing and the real estate options in Gainesville. If we weighed that back and forth, maybe, I don't know. Oxford real estate, it's up there. So we'll have to get Landrum to discuss that. I don't know exactly where that one falls, but based on some things that I've been told, the most lucrative deal for Lane may actually be in Oxford, Mississippi. And remember, Ole Miss fans, we heard Lane 2 weeks ago. Y'all shared it. It ain't about the money. That's what he said, right? So it's kind of hard to thump your chest about we might have the best deal, but also coach saying it's not about the money. So we'll get into that. Talk about a couple of things there. We got Andy Burcham coming up at 8 o'clock. Josh Pate will be with us at 8:15. Chris Plank will be with us at 9:15 across the course of the show today. We'll take your calls, 800-239-9569, if you want to talk these jobs that are open. If you want to talk SEC championship game possibilities. What would the best case scenario be for the actual league in the SEC championship game? You tell me. You tell us. Because you can sit there and you can say, well, A&M wins out, they're in. Bama wins out, they're in. Okay. But Texas, are they in the college football playoff if that happens? So would the best case scenario maybe be A&M undefeated until the Texas game, Texas win that game, get some help. Alabama would then have to lose and they would get in. Would Alabama still have a shot at the playoff? It's a windy road, but we've got time to discuss it. Lee is in Cincinnati and wants to talk job openings. Welcome into the show, Lee.
Hey, Cole, thanks for taking my call. There's just one particular job opening I want to talk about. That's LSU, because what LSU is trying to do with Brian Kelly, in my opinion, they have effectively ruined their ability now to ever be a football powerhouse again. No coach in their right mind is going to go there, because because what they're LSU is basically saying is, okay, we'll sign a contract, but we're not going to hold up our end of the bargain. And nobody, no good coach, no one, period, would be willing to go leave wherever they're going if they're worth their salt in what they do. You go to a situation like that. LSU, like I said, by doing this last night, they ended their relevancy as a football power, in my opinion, because there's no way they're going to get a coach that's decent enough to be able to bring them back to a national championship. What do you think?
Disagree. Listen, here's the thing. We don't know what's going to come out on this yet, Lee.
Well, that's true, but
I'll tell you this from my perspective quickly. I think Brian Kelly's making a big mistake.
Really?
Not getting all his money?
Take your money and run. You don't want all that out there. Be very careful. What do we always say when things like this begin to pop up? What's the one word that people begin to throw around? You know what it is, John? When these lawsuits start going back and forth and something that attorneys might have a right to?
Disclosure?
Discovery.
Oh.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
You might not want everything to be discovered. If you begin to peel back some of the layers and think about some of the things that happened under his tenure that have not been put on him just yet, just be very careful. I get it. BK wants his money. He thinks he gotten fired for lack of performance. I'll just tell you this. LSU's not the only school looking around for things right now. There are other schools that have fired their coach that are looking for things. Now, here's where I do agree with Lee just a little bit. If you fire me and then need extra weeks to go find things on me to keep some of your buyout money, that's a you problem.
No.
It does not work that way.
Should have had it already.
So here's what I think is going to happen in the future. I've already talked to multiple ADs about this. The buyouts are going to go down. The schools are not going to continue to allow the athletic directors and athletic departments to put these 40, 50, 60, 80, $75 million buyouts in, guaranteed money, whatever it is. These are not going to continue. You might get one or two more, like Lane's probably going to get a big one, whichever one this is coming up. There's a couple other people that are going to get some big ones. But it's not going to keep happening this way. What I do think will start to happen is some of these coaches, Jimmy Sexton, some of these agents, Trace Armstrong, they're going to go to these schools and say, okay, we get it. You can't go to $50 million on the buyout. 20 seems reasonable. 18 seems reasonable. Good. We want it 7 days after you terminate him. All of it. We'll go lower, but you have 48 hours after you terminate him, and we want the entire thing. There's your meet in the middle. And then we don't have to do this whole James Franklin thing like, you better be looking for jobs. You better be interviewing. How does a school make you look for a job, by the way? What is the definition of that? Like, what if they tried to countersue James Franklin saying, well, you weren't looking for a job. And every day he can go back and he can show his search history on his computer, and he's like,
I logged in on Indeed right here. Here, take a look.
I was just about to say, where you go look for jobs anymore? What was the one that came out when we were in like college, the big one?
Monster?
Monster.com, yeah. I've been putting my resume out here. Nobody called me back.
I just logged in on LinkedIn 12 hours ago. I did it.
Look at all these notifications I got from people searching. I tried. I just don't know how you make somebody's job search, because your definition of job search and my definition of job search could be completely different. But that's what I think is going to happen. I think the buyouts will go down, but I think the schools are going to counter, the agents and the coaches are going to counter and say, that's fine, but you have 1 week to give me every penny of the 18 million or the 17 million or the 22 million. We'll stay away from 40 or 50. But I'm just telling you, the schools, the boards, the presidents, all those people involved with the actual universities, they're not going to let these guys do this anymore. Even if the boosters say, we'll back it up, that's fine, go get it. We're not going to be on the hook for that anymore. We're not doing that. Beham Dog wants to talk coaching changes. Welcome in, Dog.
Hey, good morning, Cole.
Morning.
So, Lane Kiffin, let's hypothetical here, Cole. Let's say you're writing the check for Lane Kiffin, and he's willing to stay at Ole Miss. You're the AD for Ole Miss. Now, Lane, I don't know Lane personally. You probably know Lane personally. He seems like the person that would say, yeah, I want to be the highest paid coach in college football. I could be way off base there. But let's say he wants to be the highest paid coach in college football. As the AD of Ole Miss, and you're writing that check, Do you make him the highest paid coach in college football? And what is the realistic chance? It's hard to win a national championship. You know that firsthand. It's hard, even for the elites like Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. It is very hard. What is the realistic chance that Ole Miss can make him the highest paid coach in college football and win a national championship? And do you pay him that? And I'll hang up and listen.
If you can get it, you pay him. Because where does it all start as far as winning a national championship? If we went to the drawing board right now, let's get our notepad out. Ingredients for a national championship in college football. This would be a great conversation for Josh at 8:15. But if we're lining them up right now, how many people would say number one is going to be head coach worthy of? Some people might say head coach that's already done it, which Ryan Day just proved you wrong last year. So that's out. Is it maybe there are going to be people here that say brand. You have to be at an Alabama, a Texas, even though it's been a minute, Florida, Miami, USC, Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia. But 10 years ago, we wouldn't. Where was Georgia in this?
Would you include Oklahoma in that?
Absolutely. Been a minute. I think that is getting further away from it all. So if that's the case, now talent acquisition, right? Has Ole Miss proven that from a rollover standard, they can continue to bring talent in that is on par and on level with all the other SEC schools? I would say yes. And even though it's a much shorter period of time than what Alabama has done, Ohio State has done, Michigan has done, Georgia has been doing, Florida has done, I think they've figured a lot of it out. So if you're putting the ingredients together for Ole Miss to go win a national championship, I mean, does anybody care about facilities anymore? If I'm not mistaken, did Keith Carter not push pause on stadium renovations to say we're going into NIL and we're going into our coaching staff? I mean, Keith Carter even understands we're in a new dawn here. We don't need to do the things that we were doing 11 years ago. Get this thing right now. And we got to have coaches and we need talent. They've got the coaches and the coaching staff, and they've been able to continue to stockpile the talent on that roster. Now, we could then begin to have conversations about style of play and then get a little bit more specific about they need to be a little better in the trenches. Games are won at the line of scrimmage. Maybe Ole Miss needs to learn how, on offense at least, to put their hand in the deep. Because they don't do that a whole lot. What's missing? Y'all tell me. Do I think that they're teed up right this very second? Maybe not. But I definitely think that the plane has started the engine and is probably moving up the runway to get into the airspace of possibly winning a national championship. And if we're having that conversation, like how many teams right now in today's college football are flying in that airspace? Realistically, when we went into this season, didn't we say this field was a little bigger than last year's field?
Sure felt like
last year was like 4, right? 6 maybe. And this year, because we didn't have the 1, 2, or 3 that we said, well, they're at least in it, playing for it. We didn't even have that this year really going in. Would that not open the door for more teams to have taken off? For your Ole Misses to at least be off the runway and climbing? I would say probably. Is Texas Tech in that airspace? I mean, Texas feels like they've gotten back in it the last 3 or 4 years. They were grounded for a long time. Like they had flat tires. Is Vanderbilt in that airspace? Now, Vanderbilt's going to have to do it without this, I'll say, class of individuals. They're going to have to do it with new waves of talent before I think we say, yes, annually they're there. But for this year, maybe Vanderbilt's in a glider and somebody pulled them up. And they're just kind of hovering. Eventually, we know you're coming down. You're not even utilizing fuel to be up there. Like Miami looked like they took off. Have they crashed? I don't know. Are they out of gas and they're just kind of floating too?
I feel like everyone's in a jet. They're in a hot air balloon, kind of just slowly making its way down. But could easily go back up if they pulled a little ripcord.
But there's one other school from the brand recognition perspective that is in an F-14 right now that we have completely forgotten about. We'll discuss that team and more next right here on Jocks.
Can jump into the conversation.
Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 800-239-9569, 800-239-WJOX. If you want to be a part of the show, you can also tweet in at Mac and Cube. Be a part there. We're talking national championship caliber teams, pedigree teams. Can we even say that anymore? Is that even real? Is it just the good old boys? I mean, there's new blood here, folks. There are new teams at this party. It doesn't feel like it just has to be the same old, same old. Arizona State was in last year. Now, Boise, I don't think a lot of people would look at it and said, not surprised that they could crash the party. But would they be a team that could realistically advance every 4-7 years, whatever that is, and be a threat to actually win it? That's a different conversation. Completely different conversation. Don't get caught in the cold. Schedule your system checkup now from a Train Comfort specialist. Train has been recognized 11 consecutive years as America's most trusted HVAC brand. And our exclusive home comfort partners here at Jocks. Visit Train.com to find a comfort specialist near you. If we are referencing teams that are in the national championship airspace right now, teams that have actually taken off, which means they have a chance to go do it, they could actually win it, be in it. But part of our argument for ingredients for a national championship, head coach, capable of doing it. You could even say staff with him, resources. But I think that's even changed. Resources feels like it's even changed a little bit because it's not indoor facility, nap room, slide, waterfall. It's just how much can you get in there to NIL? How many companies do you have willing to help out with things of that nature? That feels kind of like where that is now. But there's a big fighter jet up there in that airspace right now that is roaring full speed ahead that doesn't qualify for a lot of those things that I think people would put into these ingredients, and it's Indiana. Indiana is, I get it. Some people are going to point back to last year. Shouldn't have been in. We're not going to judge them by a one-off. And you can say close game against Penn State. A lot of these teams are going to play in close games. They're going to be in the playoff, and they're going to advance and going to have opportunities to maybe play for or win a national championship. Hell, Ohio State lost games last year. Badly, by the way. The last game of the year. Would Texas A&M also fall into that category? Now, I know a very rich football tradition. I understand that. I get that. I watched the Wrecking Crew defense when I was in high school. I understand that. And Leland McElroy and some of those guys. But I think in this conversation, this is sort of new. They're in new airspace now. So if Ole Miss is up there, if Texas Tech appears to be on their way up there, if Indiana is there, if A&M has gotten there, we could even say Notre Dame the last, 6-7 years compared to where they were the 5 to 8 before that?
At least this decade, yeah.
They weren't in this conversation for a minute, and they seem to be back. Oregon has found their way in and been sustainable. So if we're having the conversation of whether or not Lane Kiffin can compete for national championships at Ole Miss, they were in the discussion to be in the playoff last year. They're going to be in the playoff this year. I think that answers your question. Now, do they need to continue to stockpile talent? Yes. Are they going to run into a year where maybe the portal is not as plentiful and maybe the one-time portal window changes things for them? They don't get those late additions that end up being guys that help them from a depth perspective, or maybe the Trinidad Chambliss falling out of D3 into their lap, all of a sudden one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC doesn't really happen anymore. But they'll also adjust, and they'll also continue to construct their roster in a little bit of a different way. Maybe that's more emphasis on traditional signing day. Maybe it's stocking up further on the one transfer portal window that they do get. But also keep in mind, as we are now in the revenue share era, with some NIL still around there somehow, some way, more guys are going to be willing to come back. Now, you're always going to get your kids that just don't like college and that think they're going to be a first rounder when they're really a fifth rounder. Like, they're always going to get those guys, and that's at every school, by the way. A lot of kids get bad advice. That's going to continue to happen, but that is something that they may be able to take advantage of. So I think it's there now. If Ole Miss got the right draw this year, you're telling me there's no chance they couldn't go win a national championship? There's no way? I don't know if I would agree with that. I don't look at them as a favorite. I don't look at them as no team can beat them. But I bet a lot of those same people would say Georgia can go win it. And they went toe-to-toe with Georgia. You get a draw against a couple of teams that don't play elite defense, you don't think Ole Miss is going to be able to score? And they have upped the ante in the trenches the last 2 to 3 years. They're getting there. They're getting closer. So I think they're there now. And if they're there now, and the school is getting ready to put up more and put more resources in, and all of this groundwork has been laid, do you just stay? Do you just stay and say, see if we can make it work here? We're close here. Maybe like a couple of your younger guys that are there. I don't know. But it feels like the way that things are set up is better suited for Lane Kiffin to maybe go make this run right now. And if Ole Miss is about to pony up not only to him, but to his staff and maybe to NIL to be able to continue to push the resources that are needed in today's college football in, maybe he could go do it now. So, speaking of Lane Kiffin and jobs like the Giants, he was asked yesterday about how he handles, we'll give you the question too, other schools maybe wanting him to come be their coach instead of being the head coach at Ole Miss.
If Florida wants you and if Ole Miss wants you, it'll necessitate you making a decision. I was just curious, like with the portal opening on January 2nd, do you even have time to think about that, or how important is it to come to whatever decision before the portal opens?
I don't know. I'm not that far down the road. I said it last week, and you guys think I was joking, or the South Carolina, like everybody wants to talk about other jobs and everything, and I think you're 2-3 weeks away from coaching for your own job, so you better make sure you're doing really well where you are, because as we've seen out there, I've said 1 win put you out of the top 10, now 2 wins might put you out of the top 25, and 3 might get you fired. So I ain't figured all that out. I'm trying to keep our winning streak, get to 8-0 at home.
Just sticking with Lane here for a moment, we did discuss a little bit earlier the college football playoff rankings. Round 2 will be tonight. Kiffin discussed, should there be a new team at the top of this list?
You know, Texas A&M being 3. You know, well, what more do you want them to do to be 1? You know, like I said, when people want to schedule and they say, okay, man, we need you to schedule hard teams. You're going to have now 9 SEC and then play another hard one. Well, they went up to Notre Dame and won. So those people that say, man, those schedules are worth it to play that, what if they didn't play Notre Dame? If they just played whoever and just had an easy win, they'd be ranked in the same spot. So what good did that do if that's not rewarded? You know? So they got the highest metrics of everybody, and they're not number 1. So I don't know. Again, you talk about those 2 teams right there, put them on a neutral site, ask Vegas who would win, what's the spread. And that, to me, shows more than people sitting around a room just guessing.
I think tonight, and this is why I brought this up, that there's an interesting case to be made for Texas A&M. And I think this may be the first real drama we're going to get with these rankings this year. Because I think last week it was, okay, let's see how the committee thinks. Let's see what they want. Let's see who they like. Do they like this team more than that team? Do they value this more than that? I don't think anybody was going to be off their rocker mad at anything that took place last week. And then there were some things that popped up, like you look at it and you say, well, hold on, Notre Dame that far ahead of Miami? I saw the 2 teams play. There were different aspects of who was ranked where and why and how. But this will be the one tonight, I think, that people have a chance to look at and say, now, wait 1 second here. A lot of what Lane Kiffin just said. We saw what that team did. And I think he makes a great point about, you tell everybody they need to schedule these games like this. Because this has actually gone in cycles. This has gone in circles now. Like this hamster wheel of scheduling has yo-yoed in the last 7 to 6 years, where it was schedule these hard games. 12 teams, and what did people start doing? Including one of their opponents, by the way.
Yeah.
We ain't playing y'all anymore.
Yeah.
We about to try to stack some wins and hope that we back into this thing.
You heard Signetti earlier this year say that. I'm gonna schedule like SEC, and I'm gonna schedule light. Meanwhile, SEC's actually scheduling up, most of them.
So, and now it's come full circle where it's like, well, hold on, we better go get the hard ones again to make sure that they, with this new strength of schedule metric we're putting in. Who knows if that's even going to stick around? We don't know what that's going to look like. The next year, 5 years, it's going to go to 16. What's going to matter then? So Lane does make a good point about Texas A&M and sort of where that is. And you could still probably look at Alabama and say, best win, one of the best wins at least in the season this year. But Texas A&M has now stacked multiple quality wins, high quality wins, something that I don't think the 2 teams in front of them can say. Not that they haven't looked good, because we're still going to take eye test into consideration. We're still going to take other accomplishments into consideration. But if we're talking about actual accomplishments on the field, who deserves to be at the top? We'll discuss that next right here on Jocks. Is there discrepancy in the schedules? When you look at Indiana, you look at Ohio State, and then you look at A&M. Is it glaring? Now, one thing that you do look at with these three teams is they're undefeated. Again, on this show, we don't think that's the end-all be-all, but you should get a little extra credit for that. That gives you a nudge. Because I don't think anybody's going to be able to go look at what Alabama has on their schedule that they've actually defeated and be able to go toe-to-toe with that. You can't. Nobody. So let's say we made up our own formula here. I'm trying to think of an alternate Rubik's Cubelic name. I can't come with one right this second. But if we had some sort of formula we put together for wins that teams have had this year, and we gave them a numerical rating. 1 for a good win, 2 for a really good win, 3 for an elite win. And we went across the board here, like I think we would say at Georgia for Alabama, that's a 3. The win against Vandy at home, that's at least a 1. It might be a 2, but we're going to go 1 right now. At Mizzou, that's a team that's been ranked, that's a 1. Tennessee, team that's been ranked, has a lot of NFL guys. I think that's a 1. South Carolina, I don't think it's going to qualify. I'm going to still have LSU as a 1. because the NFL talent that they haven't been ranked at one point this year, and you'll see where that evens out because it will. So that'll be 3, 4, 5, 6. That'd be 7 for Alabama on our schedule ranking.
Cube code.
The cube code. The cube qualifier.
Okay.
Does that really have anything to do with computers or anything? But
no,
like
but
the Casio cube? I don't know. The compact. The cube compact. All right, so Ohio State, you go Texas 2. Washington's a 1 at Washington. At Illinois is going to be a 1. And Penn State's going to be a 1. They'll give them a 5. I don't know where we might fall with a couple of the other games, like Minnesota. I don't really – is that a 1? I don't – I personally would say 6 and 3 maybe. We'll get like a half. I don't know. There's a couple of these that are going to go back and forth. Like at Wisconsin, great front 7. You had to do it on the road. Tough place. We can debate those another day. Indiana, a couple of maybes like the Michigan State's, UCLA, Maryland's. We're not gonna do that right now. Indiana. Illinois is a 1. At Iowa's a 1. That'd probably be close to a 2. At Oregon's a 3.
Oh yeah.
And at Penn State, I'm giving them a 1 for that. See, Penn State falls in the LSU category.
Right.
And there's going to be another different team for A&M that's going to fall there. So you'll see it evens out. I'm not just trying to give Bama extra credit. For all you Big Ten homers listening to this show. I know you're out there. So Indiana would have a 6. It's actually ahead of Ohio State, 1 behind Alabama. Alabama has that loss, though. Texas A&M. I think it's easy to fall in the trap of, wow, look at that schedule. When you dive in.
Actually, look at that schedule.
UTSA, no points. Utah State, no points. Auburn, no points. Mississippi State, no points. Florida, I'll give you a point. At Arkansas, no points. South Carolina this week, probably no points. Now, we could begin to get into, hey, State's going to probably be bowl eligible. We're talking bowl eligibility later on the show. Or South Carolina has all these pros. Okay, maybe when we start coming up with that half of a point category, those teams may fall into it. Now, Notre Dame on the road, we'll give you 2 points for that one. We could debate 3, but
at least 2.
We're going to give you a strong 2. Because I'm also going to still give you a 1 for at LSU. Which overall team, some people would say, no, you can't do that. I would say with how the defense plays and the actual NFL guys on the field and having to go there, you're getting a point. I'm giving you a point for at Mizzou because that's a team that's been ranked. I think it's still a good football team. Now, you got them with their backup quarterback. And I'm going to give you a point for Florida. Now, some people might hear how I came up with A&M's number and say, you helped them. You're giving them a point for Mizzou, a point for Florida. You're not giving Ohio State a point for Wisconsin? My point in all this is, if you want to talk eye test with A&M, let's have that conversation. Don't give me schedule and say, this is glaring, A&M should be number 1. Because, yes, said trip to Notre Dame was impressive. There's not a ton of other meat on this bone right now. You bulking up your resume with Auburn? You bulking up your resume with UTSA? Well, nice win against Tulane. I give it to you. You bulking up your resume with Utah State? UTSA, by the way, is sub 500 this year.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted, like, who else? Utah State's 5-4. You bulking up your resume with Florida? They just got blown out by Kentucky, by the way. Not comfortable win. A literal blowout against Kentucky, a team whose coach people say should have been fired 3 weeks ago. He's on a redshirt freshman backup quarterback. Arkansas? Is that the one that you're writing in italics, in bold, and underlining on your resume? Even LSU and Mizzou, folks, with a backup quarterback and a half-injured quarterback. I think A&M's a really good team. I think A&M is in the discussion with Ohio State, with Indiana. I think we could put those two on the field. And I actually haven't seen the numbers. Do we have the numbers out there of what Vegas thinks they would be? You guys, I don't love that argument because I think emotions are involved in that a lot of times. I mean, tell me they're not. Do we not agree that in some shape, form, or fashion, emotions are involved with betting lines. If it's not the case, then on all of these percentages and everything else that everybody's throwing out about A&M getting to the playoff or the SEC championship game, why is theirs lower? And the one reason that I keep hearing for that is, well, Texas. A&M's a better team. I don't care if Texas is on the schedule. Texas A&M's better than Texas this year. Now, they're going to play, and we'll find out. But you can't tell me that when it's a Texas or a Bama or an Ohio State or a USC or a Notre Dame, that doesn't affect the line, as opposed to two MAC schools facing off. Vegas knows certain brands bring emotions and bring more money. It's just real. Now, that might be a half a point or a point. It may have very little to do with it, but it has something to do with it. They know good and well where the bigger fan bases are, and the more of those people are going to want to bet on said team. But I don't think that there's a glaring discrepancy between schedules when you look at A&M, Indiana, Ohio State. I don't. And if we move past the undefeated portion of that and we just want to lean on schedules, Alabama should be ahead of all of them because of what they've accomplished. So I do think tonight will bring some real drama. How much does a committee look at A&M going to Happy Valley against a team that's not having a good year, does have a lot of talent, also on their backup quarterback, by the way. So all those little dings that we gave A&M, fill that in for Penn State this past week. It's the same thing there. So this ping pong battle is getting good. There's been a lot of back and forth. It'll be very interesting to see where A&M falls tonight. Because you can also say going to Missouri, even though against a backup quarterback, that was a convincing win. Maybe it was close for a quarter and a half, whatever, but that was A&M had their way with that team. Ahmad Hardy made some people look silly. And I will say some of the A&M defensive linemen got some wins on a fairly consistent basis, by the way. Marcel Reed made a few bad decisions, but that was a comfortable win. Does the committee look at that and say, we think A&M needs to be at 2? We think A&M needs to be at 1, maybe. All right, we'll discuss that, playoff picture, and more next right here on Jocks. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. No Greg today. Back with us tomorrow.
We might have him today. I don't know. We'll see. The shutdown, man.
We're talking. Hey, listen, I had to go through Cincinnati Friday night at 11:45. I get it.
What time did you get in your hotel room?
2:15. I checked in. Last night I was really concerned because I'm on my way to the Charlotte airport and it's just snow.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like out of nowhere, just I'm like, all right, we got this whole shutdown thing and it's starting to snow. Charlotte's still kind of southeast-ish.
Prisoners go through there. Yeah.
Still wild that guy called in last week and said that he's seen like 3 in the last 3 months, and then I've never seen it in my life. Actually, okay. Since you brought that up, a guy was telling me he was listening to the podcast, and yesterday heard this. I'll share this with you if I can. Yeah, this guy right here. He said, just listen to the podcast about traveling the prisoner in the airport. I fly for Delta. We travel a prisoner pretty regularly. They travel with 2 law enforcement people. They put them in the middle. They board first and deboard last and have to declare with the captain and the airline. Having talked with the people who transport, they're less threatening criminals that are allowed to travel this way. Hope this helps. I said, well, where do they sit on the plane? That was our other big question. Front, back.
Correct,
I need to know.
Yeah.
He said it's just a 3-seat configuration in the back, generally window with both agents blocking them in. I don't like that either. Feel like they need to be on both sides, right?
You would think, yeah.
That could go back and forth. Do you want them closer to the aisle, or do you want them completely sandwiched in? This dude wasn't getting up over the seat in front of him, though. I mean, he was bigger than I was. If it's a 2x2 plane, they have the agent against the window and one in the aisle. No.
Wait, what?
No.
Okay, yeah.
No.
That's a recipe to get.
I almost feel like if it's the 2x2, he's against the window, one beside him, one in front of him.
Right.
Just give me that triangulation of security. But anyway, a couple of answers to our questions there that we had. So I guess this is more regular than we think. We didn't even know. 800-239-9569. You want to get in. 800-239-WJOX. You can tweet into the show at Mac and Cube if you have questions, thoughts about tonight's college football playoff rankings. I do think that we get some real drama tonight. Now, what questions exactly will it answer? I don't know if it's, hey, because A&M moves up to 2, I don't think A&M can move to 1. That's just my honest opinion, because I don't know if the committee, and this is where we really start to question some of the posturing and going way down the rabbit's hole of different ways of thinking. I don't think the committee, though, will want to prove themselves wrong this early. And you're essentially saying you were wrong about Ohio State to an extent if you put A&M first. Or you're saying you were that wrong about A&M going from 3rd to 1st. Now, listen, we like fluidity here. We're okay with moving a team down, moving a team up. And we'll get some other ones that are probably way further down than they should after something happened, or not far enough up after something happened. Like, where do we think Texas Tech's going to jump to? Because Ole Miss didn't give a reason to go down. Now, are they going over Oregon, who goes to an Iowa team in weather and kind of struggles? Are they jumping them?
It happened in the AP poll.
Well,
but right,
we've heard those reasons. Here's my problem with Texas Tech. If we had the same scoring system, let's go across the board here. Mm-hmm. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State. I don't need to ask you if you're ranking those.
Seems like those are negative.
Oregon State. At Utah, at least a 1.
Yeah.
We could have a conversation about a 2. Now, at Houston should probably be a 1, but it's a weak 1. Kansas, you lost at Arizona State. Oklahoma State at Kansas State. BYU's probably a 2. So you're a 3, maybe a 4 on all of the new schedule metric that we invented today. So I don't – it was a nice win this last weekend. Is that enough to go ahead of Oregon?
Probably not.
Because we talked about Iowa maybe being a 1 in there for other people. So you can't really hate Oregon that much for getting that win. By the way, they won a different way, which I value.
When you haven't really seen from them, too.
Right. You didn't have to go in there and win 49-42 or whatever. Chris wants to chime in on college football. Welcome into the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me, guys. I want to just talk to you guys about this Bama running game. I think I called you guys back a couple of weeks ago about it. After looking at the film, I see some discrepancies starting with offensive line, preferably like on the first play of the last game when that I want to say it was the end around. They tried to run. O line, and I guess maybe the tight end at that time had just whiffed on. I guess they went to block to just a linebacker and just pretty much missed out on defensive end for the seal block on it, and it made the end around bubble, which pretty much blew up the play. Or you can chalk up what's his name? I want to say Vandermark. He gets whipped on the line constantly. And another play I saw, which was it? I want to say Newberry. He turned his back towards the running back, and you never do that. You always try to seek out work. I mean, Cole, you can comment on it yourself, or the case in point, we can say the running backs would pretty much just be so twitchy and always play the running game, whatever play early instead of letting the whole develop. What do you guys generally think is the issue that's plaguing this running game, or is this really truly what they're capable of at this point? And they should probably switch to more air raid. What are you guys' thoughts?
You're not switching to air raid because you don't run air raid, and you don't have an air raid guy at the helm. Like that's not even a thought. Now Chris Hatcher's available if you wanted to bring him over and start working on some air raid concepts to get in by the playoffs. I think maybe Ty Simpson's smart enough to handle some of that. There's a lot with this Alabama run game right now. Listen, I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't struggle. The first thing I would say to that conversation we just had, if you are judging, basing, grading, having real conversations about a jet sweep or a reverse and how much your run game is affected by that, we're not having a conversation. I could give absolutely not a single rip about an end around and how good that makes your run game, or a reverse, or a jet sweep, or an orbit sweep, or any of that. Now, you want to talk about inside zone, counter, power, duo, outside zone, toss. Like if the tight ends and receivers dictate how good my run game is, we have problems in general. So honestly, we don't even have the conversation. We say you can't run the ball. The main situation here is Alabama doesn't live that life. And that's okay. You don't have to. And by the way, some of the better rushing attacks in college football this year have been wildly inconsistent. Wildly inconsistent. Texas A&M is a great example of this. I have seen Texas A&M play legit bully ball. And I have seen Texas A&M go to watch the Missouri game, which, by the way, Missouri's front is a lot better than people give them credit for. Defensive tackle 10 is a lot better than people think. They got good edge guys, Damon Wilson and company. They're good. But I saw them short yardage multiple times, not able to pick up a yard. The inconsistencies of some of these run games, Utah would be a good example of that. Oregon would be a good example of that. Missouri would be a good example. Does Missouri not have one of the best rush offenses in college football? Would we all agree with that? I think most people that have actually watched them would. Auburn held them to 91 yards. So, yeah, they had 163 against Bama. It's not bad. It's not elite. So, even some of the better rushing attacks that are non-triple option have been inconsistent this year. Transfer portal, new bodies, not a lot of reps together. And then we can go into some of the details of it. I showed 2 plays on Read and React last night, and it came on late after basketball, so most people probably didn't see it. But I think you can go back and get it. We talked about one inside zone play where backside guard, backside tackle stepping underneath themselves. You have to gain width and depth. And then the center and the left guard have proper hat placement and proper tracks. And what does Daniel Hill do? As soon as he gets the football, he cuts it back. Now, a lot of people see that play and they say, oh, backside guard and tackle was terrible. He got whipped. Okay, but there is a track for him front side to be able to gain yards if you watch it the way it needs to be watched. But no one's going to point that out. But there are details in where the running back needs to be going and when they need to cut and what they need to follow and what they need to trust and what they need to see. And I'm complimentary of that young man. I think he's turned into a hammer for Alabama's offense. But that was a play in which front side needed to be tested a little bit more, and it was not. So, and there are definitely plays where tight ends, receivers on toss, different things of that nature are not happening the way that they need to. It's collective. It's never on one thing. It's never one person. It's never one position group. It's usually collective when your run game doesn't get amped up. And let's just be honest. Alabama has really good wide receivers. Pretty good group of tight ends. Cuevas is playing way past where anybody thought he would be this year. He's been great for them. And they have a quarterback that can handle all of it. So why would you not put the ball in the air more and extend the run game through the air at times? And this goes back to Tua and Saban when he changed under Kiffin, whatever it was. Like, if you're not living that life, you can't just flip the switch and all of a sudden become that. Andy Burcham with us next.